Pete, you're up.
Not sure I'll let you get away that easily, Ron. Obviously, the big news of the day, switching at quarterback. What made you to move to Kyle Allen right now in this moment?
Well, I think the biggest thing is looking at where we are in terms of our schedule and the situation and circumstances. This has been thought out by me for a while, to me, it goes back to the beginning of the schedule. We have 4 games coming up at the beginning that I was hoping to come out of it being 2-4, and then going into a stretch where we play 4 NFC games, 3 divisional games. And again, where we could make some hay. And unfortunately, we're 1-3. We got 4 divisional games coming up. 3 divisional games coming up, 4 conference games. And I just felt, based on the things that have gone on with Dwayne, based on his development and where he is, we're better off putting the ball in the hands of guys that know our system, a guy that's been in our system for 3 years, backed up by a guy that's been in the system before and is a little bit more accomplished quarterback. This is not an indictment on Dwayne as much as an indictment on the situation, circumstances that we are in. He did not have the benefit of OTAs and minicamp. He didn't have the benefit of 4 preseason games to work through things. And because of that, he's behind in his development in the system. And again, it's an unfortunate situation. But, as we go through the first 4 games and look at them and break them down, and, I visit with the coaches, talk to the coaches, go through the games with the coaches and the things that happen, it's just one of those things that he needs more time. And we're also, though, in a situation with what has happened in our division, it's open. And so I want to take an opportunity to see what we could do.
Les?
Hey, Ron. Sorry I got in a minute late. Was there anything about what happened at the end of the game the other day or towards the end when on the 4th down that he, on the pass, on the sack, are those things that kind of count against him at this point?
No, but those are things that all talk and speak to his development and things that he's got to learn to grow with. And my point just being is that he hasn't had the opportunity to play a lot of football. He hasn't had the opportunity to learn a lot of football and practice a lot of football. And that's the thing that he didn't get. He didn't get a lot of it last year. Going into OTAs and mini camps, which were blown out of the water because of COVID, he didn't get that. He hasn't had the benefit of that kind of work yet. And because of it, and because of our circumstance and situation, I made the decision.
Sam?
Ron, you've talked about the importance of rebuilding and evaluating and developing Dwayne. Is there any worry that maybe long-term or for long-term development that you would go for the short-term play in the schedule in the division?
That's exactly what this is. This is an opportunity to find out. We got 4 games that are critical. There are 4 games that are conference games. 3 of those 4 are divisional games. And that's what this is. This is a short term to find out. I could have gone with Dwayne and who knows what would happen. But if the negative happened, you could lose a young quarterback. Dwayne's got an NFL arm. Okay. And that's a legit thing he has, but he hasn't had a lot of NFL experience. You said, well, the only way he's going to get it if you play it. And the only way he's going to get it if he practices. And we missed a series of practices by not having the OTAs and minicamp and not having a regular training camp where he would have had 4 preseason games to work through things.
Con?
Hey, Ron, how much more do you feel you can do with your offense because of Kyle's experience? And then secondly, what was Dwayne's reaction?
Well, I think, he was disappointed, obviously. And I would have expected a competitor to take it no other way. He wants to play. He was disappointed, and I know today was tough on him, and I appreciate that. I understand that. I've been through it myself personally. I know what it feels like. But I think we can do a few more things. I think, again, Kyle's been in for 3 seasons. He's had some success. He hasn't had great success, but he's had some. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for some success. He's a guy that can manage, can control, and hopefully things will go well. We've put Alex in position to be the backup, and so we'll see how that unfolds.
Mike Phillips?
I know this will come across as second guessing, but all these things you mentioned, Dwayne not having the preseason, Kyle having familiarity with the system. I guess you would say all that happened in week 1 or before week 1. So why was Dwayne allowed to start the season?
Because we had to find out. I felt that we had 4 games that if we could come out of those games 2-4, okay, going into this week, I could stay with Dwayne. Okay, in spite of the situation and circumstances. But we're 1-3. Watching the games that Dwayne played, looking at things, Dwayne needs some more work. He just hasn't had enough work yet, and that's the thing that I hope everybody understands. He's got a live NFL arm, but he only played 1 year in college. He played very limited last year. I like the things that I saw from last year, and this year he played. We gave him every opportunity. We gave him all the reps with the ones. We gave him an opportunity to start 4 games and gave us a chance to truly evaluate. But with the division to where it is right now, okay, I'd be stupid not to give it a shot and see what happens in the next 4 games. But I wanted to put it in the hands of somebody that knows the system a little bit better, backed up by a guy that's been there.
Rhiannon and Nikki.
Hey, Ron, you said you understand that today was a hard day for Dwayne Haskins. Just in terms of like body language and things of that nature, obviously we could see him holding his arms, crossing his arms a little bit away. Does that count as a ding, I guess, even though you understand like he's disappointed and it's tough to be put in this position?
No, I don't count it as a ding, Ron, to be honest with you, because we all go through it. And we all handle things differently. What's more important is how he comes out of it. You know, he got a chance to practice. He took his reps in practice. We worked with the scout team. He went after practice and worked a little bit more too. He was near the coaches during practice. You guys get to see him at practice, and I wish some of you would have, so everybody would see that he got involved. He did the things he's supposed to. But he should be disappointed. If he wasn't disappointed, I'd be concerned because he wants to play, and I get that part of it, and he'll get his opportunity. But right now, we're in a situation where, if we're still trying to teach one guy, and the other 52 aren't given the opportunity to see whether or not we can win these next 4 games, then, that's not fair. And again, we're trying to develop a young quarterback, but we got one eye on what's happened in our division. I mean, if somebody was 4-0 and somebody else was 3-1, okay, but there's a chance to win. So the division. So we have to look at it that way. We've got 4 games that are very important, very vital, and we'll see what happens.
Nikki, then David.
Ron, with your eye on the short term, then does Kyle Allen get a chance to prove himself as a potential long-term starter, or do you expect Dwayne to compete for the job at some point later in the season?
I expect them all to compete, but we'll see what happens with Kyle. Again, he's had some success. It's been limited, but he's won 7 games for me in the past. That's the past. We'll see what he does this week, and we'll go from there. And like I said, we have a very capable guy in the wings, and Alex ready to go.
David.
Sorry. Ron, I want to try to understand exactly, where you're coming from on this, because everything that has been said since you got here was about the big picture and long-term thinking and nothing in the short term. We're not. And so I'm trying to understand,
well, the thing to look at, David,
why that goes away because you won 1 fewer game than you wanted to.
Because, David, you look at where everybody else is in our division. 1-2-1. Okay, 1-3. Okay, 1-3, 0-4. So we haven't been as successful as I'd liked us to have been in those 4 games, and I hadn't seen the growth that I was looking for in those 4 games. So to continue to do that, with a chance to step up in the division, I think I'm wrong. I would be wrong to continue to try to do the same thing. So I want to put the ball in the hands of somebody that's been in the system, backed up by somebody that's been in the system as well, but is very capable, and see what happens. That's what I want to do. I'm taking a shot at the long term, short term, for the short term glory. And if we come out of this, having won, 3 of the 4, we're right in the middle of it. Okay. And I just think now is the chance to take that shot and see. The one thing a lot of people don't see is the frustration on the sidelines on the other players as well. I look at that. I see that. I feel that. The guys want to win. And right now, where his development is, I think our best shot to win now is with guys that have been in the system. And that's what I'm doing. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Heather.
You said that you didn't want to, I guess, lose the young quarterback. But how do you not do that when you're talking about wanting to win? and he's not the guy that seemingly right now is the person to put you in the best position to do so.
Is he? Is he based on his last 3 games? That's what I'm looking at. Okay. I've looked at what's happened. Okay. And it's funny because everything I've seen and been told is everybody talks about him not doing this, him not doing this, him not doing this. Now I'm decided to do this, and wow. Okay. So get it. I'm looking at these things. We break these games down. We talk about these things. Okay. So my decision's being made based on what we've seen for the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks for that matter, and looking at where we are. Now, I think our best chance to win is putting the ball in somebody else's hands. I think our best chance to have things done in our offense in somebody else's hands. That's what I'm doing. Okay. I mean, I'm doing that based on what I've seen. I just think right now, this is the decision I'm making. I could be wrong. Okay. Or I could be right. And we'll see. That's why we play the games. That's why we show up on Sunday, is to see what happens. And that's all we're going to do.
Darren, JP?
Hey, Ron, Darren Haynes here. Can you give me your thought process on why you have Kyle Allen first, but then you have a guy like Alex Smith as the backup rather than moving Dwayne Haskins down to number 2?
Partly because the reason Kyle's number 2 is because Kyle's been working all the way through and Alex has been getting limited reps. I got Alex next because Alex has been in the system. Okay, he understands it, and I want to put the ball back in the hands of somebody else that's been in it. That's my thought process behind that, just to see what happens. Again, we have 3 capable quarterbacks. We have 2 guys right now that I've lined up as 1 and 2, and that's the way we're going to go with it.
JP? JP, we got you. If not, we got to move on to Matt.
He's muted.
You got me, Ron?
Yep.
We've all seen the documentary. We all saw the injury. How ready are you to be the coach that puts Alex Smith back on the field if something happens to Kyle?
Because there's doctors that were ready to put him back on the field as well. That's why. In talking to the doctors and listening to what the doctors say, that's why. If the doctor told me, "Ooh, I don't think I'd put him out," I wouldn't put him out there. But to have the doctors tell me what they've told me, to say what they've said, I guess, based on, what the doctors tell me, unless we're not going to listen to medical science.
Paris?
Hey, Ron, Dwayne's agent had a tweet after Sunday's game saying that, there's this idea that maybe Dwayne hasn't gotten a fair shake because of the supporting cast around him. I guess just what do you make of that? And, specifically Dwayne's agent said, yet he is the one who must play well. I guess just what is your reaction to that?
It'll be the same thing for Kyle. Kyle's going to have the same guys out there. He'll have the same unfair shake, and we'll just see how it goes. I mean, that's the thing everybody has to understand. We are who we are, okay? The players we have are the players we have. Those are the guys we're going to play, all right? But the thing we all have to understand is there's one primary position that touches the ball on every play. And what we're hoping to do is develop a young quarterback. And we get to a certain point where you say, wow, he's not getting it right now. We can continue to put him out there, or wow, look at this situation we have in our next 4 games. Do we want to shake the dice, or do we want to say, let's see if we can win them with somebody who has a little more experience, a little bit more time in this offense, and a little bit better feel for what we do? That's all I'm doing. Okay. I have a guy that has a little bit better feel, backed up by another guy that has a little bit better feel. Okay. That have played a little bit more football, a little bit more understanding. I wish Dwayne had the offseason. I wish he had the OTAs and mini camps. I wish he had the 4 preseason games, because then he'd be further along. I told you guys, it takes about 5,000 reps. Okay. He's not even close to that yet. And I'm going to stress it again. The kid has an NFL arm, but right now there's a chance. Okay. And some people may not agree with me, but that's fine. That's what this is all about. But for me personally, and for this football team, I'm taking my shot. I'm going to see what happens in these next 4. I'm here to win. Okay. And now's an opportunity to find out if we can win.
Got time for 3 more. Scott, Mike, and Ben.
Hey, Ron, Scott Abraham, ABC7. here's Dwayne. He's a captain of your football team. He's not even going to dress on Sunday. Are you concerned at all about the psyche and what this could do mentally for a young quarterback of sitting him down and not even going to dress on Sunday after he was your starter for the first 4 games of the year?
Well, I explained to Dwayne why I was doing the things that I did. Okay. And hopefully he understands that he has not had the opportunity. Yeah, it's not fair either. I get it. It's not fair because he didn't have the OTAs in the mini camp and he didn't have the 4 preseason games. That's not the fair part. I get it. But the situation right now calls for us to do something different, and I'm going to do something different. And hopefully he understands. Okay, I hope he gets it. This is all part of the learning process. Believe me, I know what it feels like to be sat down. Okay, and how he comes out on the other end, that's up to him. He can come out on the other end stronger for this, okay, or not.
2 more.
Hey, Ron, when you talk about the veterans on this squad, the other guys you have to be mindful of, did you hear from them that they felt there needed to be a change? And also, when you look at this squad, you guys went young at a lot of places. Does this squad compare to the supporting cast that Kyle had? There's no Christian McCaffrey on this team. There's no Luke Kuechly on this team. Do you have enough to actually win with Kyle Allen in this division even?
Well, we're about to find out. I mean, again, he's going to have the same thing that Dwayne had. Okay, that's the thing that we're going to go with. We can only play the guys we have. I'm not trying to compare him to what he did in Carolina. I'm just saying I know he knows the offense. He's been in the system. Okay, now he may get the same reaction. Okay, the players may play the same way that they played for Dwayne. Okay, then and again, that's no mark on Dwayne, and that's no mark on Kyle. These are the guys we have, and we're going to play the guys we have, and we're going to win with the guys we have, and we're going to lose with the guys we have. I really think, in all honesty, that this is what it is. This is who we are. We're going to show up on Sunday, and we're going to play as hard as we can, and we'll find out.
Ben, last one.
Ron, you said you've had this plan for a while. When did you first tell this plan to Dan Snyder? And assuming that you guys had a conversation prior to making the announcement of the change, what can you tell us about that conversation?
I don't tell anybody what I'm thinking, okay? Because I don't want anybody to think that people are telling me what to do. I thought about this as we were going into the beginning of the year, and I looked at the schedule and I'm going, wow, our first 8 games are very telling. Because in our first 8 games, all right, we play everybody in our division, and we play one team twice. I thought, wow, shoot, if you can win those 4. And then I looked at the beginning of the season, man, if we can come out 2-4, I thought, okay, all right, we'll see what happens. So again, those are the things that I have to think about as the head coach. And those are the things that I have to map out. Right, wrong, or indifferent. But just so you know, that's what I'm doing. Okay. Now, I did talk to Mr. Snyder. I explained to him what I wanted to do. I explained to him why I wanted to do it, and he was very supportive. He said, Ron, it's your football team. Those are decisions you're going to make. You're going to live with those decisions. And I said, yes, sir, I am. He said, well, then I'm all supportive. I'm behind you 100%. That's it. That was our conversation. Just so everybody knows, these are the things that I thought about. I went to our coordinator, and I said, look, what do you think? What's going on? What's happening? He said, Coach, he's got a long way. It's tough. He's been learning. But you know what? I said, well, what do you think about going in? And I explained it to Scott. And Scott thought this is not a bad idea. We're putting the ball in the hands of somebody that knows the system better, that's been through the system for 3 years. That's what we're doing. And we're trying to increase our chances to win. And we think this is a good opportunity for us to win.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
All right, guys, we'll open it up for Coach Turner. We'll start with the same order as Coach Rivera. Les, if you're on.
Hey, Scott. Ron just got finished saying that he ran this by you. I presume that was yesterday. What was your reaction? And what did you kind of push back at all, or did you agree with the decision?
No, I talked to Coach. Obviously, he brought it up. Said wanted to know my opinion on it. I understood 100% where Coach was coming from. When just talking about Dwayne, he's had some ups and downs, obviously, over these first 4 games. We've been, trying to do things to play towards his strengths. And we just feel like at this point, he's got a little bit of a ways to go. And, there's some mistakes that showed up that were kind of repeat type mistakes. And I think that's what really started getting Coach thinking that way. Frankly, when he brought it up, I agreed. And then Coach decided to make the decision.
Pete Haley.
When you mentioned the mistakes, Scott, what were those big ones in your mind, and what can Kyle do to make sure those mistakes are limited in the future?
The obvious ones I think that everyone points out are like the interception stuff. And I don't want to get too specific because there are things that have happened over the games that, maybe people don't see. And, I think I want to focus more on going forward, but just some opportunities that we didn't capitalize on.
Sam.
What was Dwayne's reaction like when you talked to him today? And what is your plan to keep him engaged and growing in the offense moving forward?
So, Dwayne was obviously not very happy when he found out about the decision that was made. He's a competitor. He wants to play. He's a football player. And we'll formulate a plan and get that together with him. But it's, he's going to be a part of it, just like everybody else, just like the other quarterbacks in the room. And then we'll have a specific plan as it relates to him on the practice field.
John Kine.
Hey, Scott, what throughout training camp and all that, were you not seeing the growth? Did you think it would be that he would be further along, or could you tell it was going slow for him? And then what does Kyle give you that maybe he doesn't?
Well, so Dwayne, I felt like he did a nice job in camp. Games and practices are 2 totally different things, especially when you're playing at this level. The camp itself was very limited compared to what you would normally have in a training camp. Obviously, the preseason games, that not being able to see that, where again it's live bullets. It's different when it's just different when it's real football. And he you're going to see some mistakes here and there, and nobody's perfect, and we don't expect guys to play perfect. And I think there's just times, kind of what I said, where you see the same things happening over and over again. And I think, not only for our team, and I know coaches spoke about that, but just for Dwayne, sometimes it's good for a guy to take a step back, and see it from a different perspective, and not just keep going out there. And a lot of times that can be really detrimental to a quarterback, especially a young guy going forward. So I think, not only, for Kyle getting out there, but for Dwayne being able to remove himself from the situation. And I think that's part of it too, with making Alex the backup, where, we feel good about Alex's progression physically. This is the next step with him, and it allows Dwayne to take a step back there. As far as with Kyle, I have familiarity with him, spent a lot of time with him. He's familiar with, kind of the way that we do things, or me specifically, the system. We have a lot of other young players, so being able to be more comfortable helping them, there's a lot that goes into that.
Michael Phillips.
I understand Alex isn't the starter, but obviously now by making him active, there's a chance he goes in the game. Knowing his health, conditions from the past, have you had him get hit during practice yet? And what makes you comfortable with putting him out in a game where he could potentially get sacked or hit?
Yeah, we have not had him get hit in practice. We don't have our quarterbacks, really any of our players really get hit in practice or like tackled to the ground.
I don't make those decisions, to be honest with you. I mean, those are the doctors, our trainers. They let us know if guys are medically cleared. Now with Alex, there was a physical development point of that. So once he's medically cleared, then as coaches, we had to make a decision that he was physically, developed as far as just able to play at the level necessary to be successful in the NFL. That's the time period from when he came off PUP until now. We've been working towards that, and we think that this is the next step. We all know that he could be in the second play of the game. We know what kind of sport this is. Everybody's aware of that. We've had a conversation with Alex about it. But the first people that we always talk to are the doctors and trainers, and they ultimately make those decisions.
Rhiannon?
Hey, Scott, you mentioned earlier when we were talking about Kyle, one of the things that you like about him is that big playability, his aggressiveness to get things in tight windows. But sometimes the frustration is that he also he'll miss an easy throw, or like he'll do too much. What do you think you've seen from him this offseason to lead you all to believe that like he can win you all those games? One of the things that Ron mentioned was that some of the there were misplays and things of that nature. What do you guys feel like you've seen from Kyle Allen to support you all going this way?
I think Kyle's going to consistently run the offense. I think that Kyle, basically was a rookie last year. I know he technically wasn't, but he played a lot over the course of last season. And I think Kyle is somebody that's benefiting from what I was talking about with Dwayne. He took a step back and he kind of saw it from a different lens and not having to be the guy that's forced out there all the time. I think that made him take some assessments. I think we had some games last year with Kyle where everything started off great for him. Didn't throw an interception until like his sixth start or something like that. It just it was almost like, hey, this is easy, and it's never easy in this league. And then he hit some adversity, and we hit some adversity as a team. And I think we got down in some games, and Kyle thought that, he could make a bunch of plays to bring us back, and it ended up just digging himself a deeper hole. And I think that the things that he's learned is just that, it's not about making some big play, it's just making the right play consistently. And later in the season, now we didn't win it, but like we had some games against Green Bay or some games against New Orleans where he did that and, gave us a chance, on the road against some tough teams. That's what you hope is just that, he's learned from that and understood that it's not about like doing something spectacular. It's just consistently doing your job.
Nikki?
Scott, just to follow up on what John was asking regarding the playbook, in having Dwayne out there just with his development and his style of play, did it all limit you in what you wanted to do with the offense? And in turn, does having Kyle expand what you want to do with the offense?
No, I wouldn't say we were limited because I think, in order to give Dwayne or our offense the best chance possible, I don't think you can do that. I don't think that's fair to the guys that put in the work. I think what happens is because of the lack of reps, maybe on some plays, you can only show a guy or a guy can only see like a certain amount of looks. And so you might get a look in a game that they haven't seen before, but like over time, if you continue to get reps, then, you've had that, or you can draw back on past experiences. And I think that's where potentially the limitation comes from, not from anything that we were doing. I mean, we were trying to give ourselves the best chance to win, the best chance to go score points, and we haven't done a good enough job of that. And, again, starting with me, we got to be better offensively. We got to move the ball better. We got to score. I feel like we're getting better, but we're still nowhere near where we need to be. And that, that improvement needs to happen.
David Aldridge?
Hey, Scott, along those lines, I'm trying to, again, get a sense of what's changed, because everything that we've been told from the beginning was that this was going to be a long-term process for everyone. New head coach, new offensive coordinator, new tight ends, young receivers, young players at a lot of positions, and that it wasn't so much about wins and losses this year. And now all of a sudden it seems to be about wins and losses. So what's changed there, and how do you kind of self-assess what you're doing at your position as well as what Dwayne and the players are doing at their positions?
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know, exactly what coaches has said over the course of this time. To me, it's always about doing whatever we can possibly do to win. that's where, again, when we prepare as coaches and players every week, that's we're trying to compete and win. We owe it to our guys, the effort they put forth to do that. And I think so to me, I don't think that anything has changed much. I think but to what you're saying as far as Dwayne goes, I think it just goes back to, with his development, and what I said earlier with guys, a lot of times, sometimes it's good to take a step back, and to assess, kind of what you're doing and not just get lost in the shuffle of the week in, week out grind, because that can be detrimental to a guy's long-term growth.
Heather?
How would you, I guess, really develop? You could develop obviously at practice and hope that he starts to learn things. But I mean, I guess what would you say to the people that think there's obviously always people that believe he's got to start, he's got to be in on game day to really develop and learn what he should be doing and what he shouldn't be doing? What would you say to that faction of people that believe the best way you're going to develop is by starting?
Yeah, I understand that. I do get it. I mean, that again, you're talking about building experiences, and I was just talking about the same thing. But I think you also want to make sure you're not forming bad habits either. And I think you want to make sure you're approaching things, the right way. And again, I mean, Dwayne, it wasn't all bad. I mean, we watched, but coach, made the decision that he wants to go in another direction. And I understand it. And I understand, the thought process of, hey, take a step back, and not, this doesn't mean necessarily anything's the end of the road. It's just, hey, let Dwayne kind of see it from another vantage point.
2 more. Darren Haynes. If Darren's not on, JP.
Hey, Scott, are you able to open up more of the playbook now with Kyle? And if so, how much?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say that we're going to necessarily open up the playbook. I think, kind of the question earlier about the limitations. I just think that, Kyle maybe has a little bit more experience running some certain concepts. I think that if there is a, different look that maybe we've talked about, but Dwayne hadn't necessarily seen it, that will get, the reaction or the response that we're looking for. We were, you can only run, 65 to 70 plays or whatever a game anyways. So we always try to run the best ones we possibly can. And there's a lot of situations that go into that. So it's not like, we can't run any more plays. We just, it's not going to be anything. I don't think you're going to see as any different. I think maybe the operation might be. And again, that's why we play the game. I heard coach saying that as I walked in. Kyle's going to have the opportunity to play with the same group of guys that Dwayne was playing with. And, we'll all see the results.
Matt Paris, last one.
Yeah. Hey, Scott. Kyle got off to a really fast start in Carolina last year and then had some struggles down the stretch. Just one, what did you see from that strong stretch that allowed him to do that? And then 2, what does he kind of have to do to avoid maybe struggling again?
Yeah, I think what happened is the first game that Kyle played, he really got off to a great start. And then the other thing is we had guys that really played well around Kyle too, both our offense and our defense. And then kind of as our team kind of struggled as the season went on, Kyle struggled. And the point that I made earlier is he just tried to do too much. And that forced him into some turnovers. He has to do a better job, this time around with interception, but also just ball security, taking care of the ball when he's, sacked or hit. But, he tried to do too much or maybe force a ball into a tight window he should have or shouldn't have. And that's what got us in trouble and ultimately hurt our team. But I think this time away from playing has, again, given him a chance to step back and learn about himself, and it'll help him going forward.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Coach Turner.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, we can open it up here. Scott Abraham, are you on?
Yeah. Kyle, Scott Abraham, ABC7. I guess, first of all, how were you told the news about being the starter on Sunday, and what was your reaction?
Coach Rivera told me this morning, and I'm excited, man. I'm excited to get an opportunity, excited to go play, and a great challenge in the Rams this week. A really good team, off to a hot start. So yeah, excited.
Les?
Hey, Kyle. Les Carpenter, Washington Post. When you had kind of a chance to sit back now and not play a little bit, what did you learn from that? How does that make you better? I mean, sometimes you would want to be out there and playing, but what happens when you don't? What do you learn from that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you get a different point of view when you're back there, not always in the game. It's not bullets firing at you. You know, you get a chance to kind of digest things a little slower. And so, yeah, there's things I've learned and I've seen from just standing aside and watching from afar. But, you know, I'm ready to get out there. I'm ready to play.
Pete Haley?
Hey, Kyle. Pete Haley with NBC Sports Washington. Just looking at the division here, you guys are now in the middle of a playoff race. So how do you feel coming off the bench cold, playing a game this Sunday against the Rams and trying to elevate this team to the top of the NFC East?
I'm ready. Feel great. Feel excited. I'm glad that we're still in the playoff race. You know, I think this is an interesting division so far this year. It's been a slow start for somewhat everyone in the division. So, you know, for us in the middle of the division right now with a chance to win on Sunday and get ourselves back in the top of it, it's a great opportunity. And so we're all just focused on this week. We're really ready to take advantage of this opportunity.
Sam?
Other than throwing touchdown passes and leading drives, what do you think that you need to do differently in order to lead this offense?
I mean, I don't think differently, you know, I just need to go out there and be myself. You know, I think we need to come together as an offense in total. You know, it's not just all about the quarterback position. You know, there's a lot of things. So I think we need to be real sharp this week. I think it started with today at practice, you know, having a more focus, a little sharper practice, and then really just getting after the tape, getting after the preparation, and trying to go compete on Sunday. You know, I don't think there's anything special that needs to be done or anything over the top. I think we just need to go out and execute and do our thing. We're a good enough team.
Ben?
Hey, Kyle. Ron has talked about wanting to have that quarterback competition this summer, but circumstances because of the pandemic changed that. At the time when he presumably told you that they were going to go with Dwayne, did you think you would get this opportunity one day to actually be out there and be the starting quarterback?
I mean, I'm always ready, man. I mean, you look at my career so far, I've been in the league for 3 years and I've started at least one game in every year. I started one my rookie year, the last game of the year. I think I started 12 last year and now this one. So for me, it's always just been a mindset of be ready. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't. But if it does, at least you're prepared for it. So, you know, I always go into every game just ready to go in at any point. I mean, the starter his shoe could come off, his helmet could come off, he could get hurt, you got to play. So for me, it's just being ready to go and take advantage of your opportunity when it comes.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, Kyle, John Kime, ESPN. What did you learn most last year that can help you now?
Yeah, I think last year was good for me to be thrown in the fire and have a lot of good things happen. Some bad things happen too. So I think, you know, situational football, I grew a lot last year. I think looking back on the tape from last year, you know, situationally, there's a lot of things that I can grow from and learn from basically my rookie year last year. So yeah, I think situational football and you know, there's a bunch of other things I learned from too, but I think that's the main thing.
Michael Phillips?
A lot of young players on this team, Antonio Gibson, McLaurin. Who are you excited to work with from what you've seen so far?
Yeah, I'm excited about all of them. You know, Antonio's got out to a great start this year. Terry's obviously had a fantastic start, you know, and there's a bunch of other players on this team who have significant roles who've played well. And so I'm excited to get out there, man. There's a lot of guys in this offense that we can get the ball to and they can go make some stuff happen. You know, I know Terry gets a lot of press and he should, but there's a lot of other guys in this offense that can make it happen too.
Rhiannon?
Hey, Kyle, Rhiannon Walker with The Athletic. You mentioned that you had this different perspective being on the sideline. The game slowed down for you. What were some of the things that you saw watching the first 4 games, you know, just like different things that you recognized being on the sideline and observed? I
don't want to get into specifics of all that. You know, I think that's more personally for me to digest and do that. But, you know, I think it was just good. And I think any quarterback will tell you this on the sidelines. It's always easier to see it and say what you would have done on the sidelines, you know, and instead of being in the game. So for me to be able to see it and kind of digest it and see how this offense runs and who does what well, and situational football things too. It's just good, and I just try and take as many mental reps as I can.
Nikki?
Kyle, going back to 2018, when you chose Carolina, I believe you had one other team interested after the draft. How much of it was because of Scott Turner?
Really, so it was either them or Dallas kind of put out a feeler too for undrafted free agent. I had met with Scott before my pro day. We went out and had dinner and kind of met and talked through things. And so I hadn't really had any contact with Dallas before the actual day of the draft. So for me, it was kind of like, all right, this is what it is. Like, I got one guy who believes in me and wants to put my name out there on the table. And so let's go try and take advantage of it. So I think Scott was a big deal for getting me there.
Heather?
Hey, Kyle, Heather McDonough, NBC4. Our cameras before the game, we shoot warm-ups and stuff. And, we saw you this past weekend with the linemen, some of them high-fiving, just really like showing a rapport. How has that gone for you? And now certainly as the leader, as the starting quarterback, getting to know these guys and, again, sort of now differently because you are the starter and taking that leadership role.
It's been great, man. It's been great. That's the one thing I was most excited about coming in here, and I was bummed we didn't have OTAs. I didn't get to meet my new group of guys. That's my favorite part about football is the dudes in the locker room, meeting all these great people. And once you get to this level, kind of the bad apples are kind of weeded out. There's a lot of great people on this team, a lot of great dudes. And so it's easy to play hard. It's easy to get behind those guys. It's easy to root for them. And so for me, my main goal coming in here right from the start was create as many relationships as possible, get to know as many people as possible, try and spread the offense as quickly as possible and just enjoy it. And there's a lot of great dudes on this team. I think Coach Rivera did a great job of making this roster what it is. And I just have a lot of fun out here.
Darren Haynes?
Hey, Kyle. I'm just wondering, throughout the few weeks, Ron Rivera has been talking about sticking with Dwayne Haskins. How surprised were you to get that call today that you're going to be the starter?
I mean, I'm not going to say I'm not surprised. I'm not going to say I'm surprised. I think for me, it's kind of like an everyday thing. Show up and be ready when your number's called. I think that's the name of the game in the NFL, especially for a guy like me who came into this league undrafted, who was fourth string to start, got limited reps in early camp. And you just kind of, when you get your opportunities, you just got to pounce on them and take advantage. And so that's kind of been the story of my career so far. And I know the more I take advantage of opportunities, the more I'm going to get. And so, I'm always here for the team. I'm always ready to support whoever's in there. But if it's my opportunity to go, I'm going to be ready for it.
JP?
Hey, Kyle, JP Finley, you've been on both sides of this coin, kind of the getting the good news and getting the bad news.
Mm-hmm.
Do you talk to Dwayne? How does that process go? Because, you guys are in the same room, in the same locker room, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I've been on different sides of this coin many times. And it's part of the position. It's part of the job. Very few people get to be anointed, high school, college, pro, just ride their way through it and have no bumps. This is a tough job. It's a tough position. There's a lot of adversity that hits. And so I feel him. I feel what he's feeling. I felt this last year. I felt this in college. I felt it in high school. Like, it's a tough feeling. So we're all there for each other in the QB room. We all understand it. We all understand that everyone's doing everything they can to get ready and play and play for the best for the team. So, yeah, it's tough.
Paris?
Kyle, you mentioned being kind of thrown in the fire. How do you think that helps you for this season?
I mean, I don't know if it helps me or hurts me. I think I just think I'm prepare. I always prepare and try to be ready for whatever it is. I think as a backup quarterback, no matter what, you're going to be thrown in the fire. So just prepare and be ready.
Olivia?
Hey, Kyle, Olivia Garvey, ABC 7. The Rams have beaten every other NFC East team. Now it's kind of up to Washington to kind of prevent the sweep. No pressure. But how do you see yourself going up against Aaron Donald this week in that defense?
Yeah, we can't let that happen, man. That's not good. No, I mean, you watch him on tape, you get the scouting reports on him, and Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, two of the best players in the league, on the same side of the ball. And so it's touting it. It's a very good defense, great players, and they play unselfishly. Aaron makes a lot of plays and opens up a lot of his other teammates for sacks and other things like that. And so they're an unselfish defense. It's a great challenge. I think we're excited for the challenge. You know, I think playing a great team always excites me, and you know, you get to kind of level yourself against the best, and those two are two of the best in the game. So we're excited.
Mike Jones, are you there?
Yeah, you can roll with Ben.
Okay, Chris Russell.
Hey, Kyle. Just curious, we saw in training camp and obviously a little bit last year in Carolina, you have, good athleticism and ability to escape and maybe extend plays. Is that something that you feel like is a strength and a hallmark of your game, and maybe a little bit more of what you can bring here when things break down?
Yeah, I just think nowadays it's part of the quarterback position. You know, I think defenses are getting better. They're getting more keen to what offenses are doing nowadays. I think it's something as a quarterback, it's not dual threat or not. I think you kind of got to do it in today's game. You know, you see even guys like Matt Ryan and other guys that are scrambling on third downs and on other plays and putting their body on the line and getting those first downs. So I think as a quarterback in this league today, you got to do some of that. And I'm confident in myself doing that.
All right, Kyle. Appreciate your time. Thanks.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kyle. Thank you all.